This year, we rise. Rise with our fans and our teammates. Rise with the youth. Rise into the mountains. Rise with the sun. Because a rising tide lifts all boats. Rise up and grab it. Rise to the challenge. Rise up and celebrate. It's 2021. The CFL on TSN is back. And we will rise together.
We got a lot of dogs out here. We got a lot of players that look the part.
Elevate and move up as much as I can to get to a level where I could be, hey, I'm going to take all of it. I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to dominate.
People want to talk that talk in reality. You have not seen me in action. You think the come up comes overnight. You ain't behind the scenes. Trust me, these things don't just happen. No shade at Gerald, but G's don't come easy when you tryna eat. I produce it and rap. I read that contract you sent me to sign, but excuse me, I can't help myself. I'm just laughing. Hey, you
put me out there with a football, and I'm gonna do what I need to do.
Politely, what's it that you offer me? Yeah. I produce all my own beats, and I have no intention of losing my publisher. Yeah, independent individual, boy. I've been eating off passive residuals. Yeah, let's be professional. Thanks for your time, but I had to decline at a principle.
Yo, look, I ain't saying that I'm rich, cause if I'm honest, I've never been.
I was gonna say, oh, you. Hey. Really, there we go.
You know, we're excited. We're just moving forward and trying to improve every day. Not looking for perfection, but we're looking for progress. So that's the main thing for us on defense.
What is up, my friends from Canada and the United States of America? This is Mark Perry, editor of CFL News Hub. Welcome to another episode of the CFL News Hub Show, a weekly recap of the Canadian Football League. Remember, if you want to be part of the show, it's simple. You just email info@cflnewshub.com with your MP3s or videos, thoughts on everything as well. There on this week's show, CFL training camp news. We got a cut-down day that happened this week. Big trade. The Argonauts traded DB Alden Darby and Paxton Lynch update. A lot of people from America are interested in what's going on with him. Plus, I got some DraftKings stuff and more. So, how do you be part of the show? You email us here or you join us on the chat. Also, we had the question of the week: who is your favorite CFL team? We have that there, and you might want to know what mine is. Your guys already know that. Next week's question of the week is: who do you think is winning the Grey Cup in 2021? So you can either email us, and we'll post that on social media, and leave your thoughts there as well, and let us know who you think is going to win. Once we get into the part about the DraftKings, I have a little special announcement for you all there, but we'll wait to that for that story. So, without further ado, let's just get into some of the news that was in the CFL this week. All right, first up, this was big, surprising news. The Toronto Argonauts shockingly traded away DB Alden Darby to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for offensive line Terry Poole. So just hours before the Argonauts were to take the field this past week, they traded him, Darby, for Poole. This was big news because Darby spent the last 3 seasons with the Argos, coming off his best year in the CFL, with a 5-interception campaign in 2019. The former Arizona State alum started 40 games in total for the Argos since 2017, registering 137 tackles, 1 sack, 8 interceptions, and 3 touchdowns over that time frame. The risk-taking ball hawk was considered by many to be an important fixture for the back end of the Toronto's defense. But a lot has changed between now and then, and in the end of the Argos 2019 season, the team has an entirely new defensive coaching staff scheme philosophy, with Glenn Young leading the charge as defensive coordinator and former CFL player Joshua Bell coaching the DBs. The Argos have also brought in several new faces to their secondary, a bunch of names there, along with key returning players like Shaquille Richardson. For the Blue Bombers, acquiring Darby to their secondary makes a lot of sense, especially after coming off the news that Winnipeg lost starting DB Mercy Maston for the season due to a torn right Achilles injuries in camp on Sunday. A couple players have had that issue, this thing. So that was the big news this week. The trade of Alden Darby to Winnipeg for an offensive lineman, Terry Poole. So we'll see how that turns out for the season. Now, big news this week, aside from that, was training camp cuts. So the following this happened on Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern. It required CFL teams to get to 75 players, excluding non-counters. The Montreal Alouettes and Argonauts announced their cuts later. TSN had the full list here for you. It's not really some notable names that us in the United States would. There's American players, there's national players. Now you got to remember, national players are people from Canada. American players, of course, from America, and then global players is part of that draft. So a lot of names. Nothing that jumped out to me. The Hamilton Tiger Cats signed a couple players while they released. But you see the full list here. There's going to be another cut-down day just before the season begins, so there'll be more. One of the names that stood out, though, was DJ Foster got signed by the Toronto Argonauts. Some fans, I think Alonzo Russell, I recognize maybe from the XFL days. I'm not sure. But the Toronto Argonauts signed DJ Foster. Some fans might know him. Foster, 27, played at 27 years of age. Played 23 games for the Arizona Cardinals between 2017 and 2020, catching 18 passes for 140 yards and taking 8 rushes for 21 yards. A 6', 205-pound tailback broke into the NFL as an undrafted free agent with the New England Patriots in 2016 and went on to win a Super Bowl with the team. I think I could have won a Super Bowl with the Tom Brady-led New England Patriots. So, but hey, congrats to him. The former Arizona State Sun Devil spent 4 years at the Pac-12 school, where he rushed to over 2,300 yards and 17 touchdowns while hauling 220 receptions for over 2,400 receiving yards and 11 more touchdowns. Foster led the nation in receiving yards for running back in 2013 with 653. So it could be an interesting piece to the Argos offense. Also, really what's got a lot of play in the United States is Paxton Lynch being part of the CFL. So he's with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So people know Paxton Lynch. He entered the NFL as a first-round pick of the Broncos in 2016, and following a very stagnant NFL career, found himself signing with the Roughriders in late June of 2021. He made his training camp debut a little while ago. The transition from 4-down football to 3-down football, which, people were like, oh, yeah, we can totally, have the XFL play a game and then the CFL play a game. But, the rules are different, and it makes a big difference to the players. So the transition from 4-down football to 3-down football is a challenge for the majority of quarterbacks, especially. And the 27-year-old University of Memphis alum was no exception. When he asked about the transition to the Canadian game by John Hodge of 3-down, he said, it's been difficult. A lot of the pre-snap stuff has been a big adjustment for me. When you break it all down and get to the core of it, it's really football. It's the same, just different terminology and things like that, concepts. So far, what we've heard so far about Paxton Lynch, as far as even making the team, he's kind of been, from what we've been hearing, kind of middle of the pack. I think Joe Flacco's brother is on the team, if I'm not mistaken. The starting quarterback for the Rough Riders is currently the dual threat Cody Fajardo. I don't think there's a question that he will be part of that, who's coming off a phenomenal season in which he earned honors of the West Division Most Outstanding Player. So Lynch will likely hold the backup role, and if he even makes it, quarterback Isaac Harker is also on the roster, who accumulated 467 yards and 3 touchdowns during his rookie season in 2019. So there's him, and there's a couple other guys on there, but we'll see if he makes the team. This has been the big news, at least in the States. He was a guy that the XFL had their eye on. I remember fans talking about him trying to join the XFL, but he wasn't part of that, but that his name was out there. So he's trying his game in the CFL. So we'll see what happens. I mean, he wasn't in the spring league, He wasn't in hub or any of that kind of stuff. He was taking a shot at the CFL, and we'll see what happens to him. He's kind of one of the bigger names. I mean, when you're a former first-round pick from not too long ago, it's definitely moves the needle and makes headlines, at least here in the United States. So we'll definitely continue to follow him as time goes on in the CFL. Speaking of the CFL, oh, and by the way, just hello to everybody in the chat. We're definitely excited to have you all hanging out with us in the chat. We'll get to you guys in a second, and that's on the chat on Facebook and on YouTube. We're live always Wednesdays at 8 on the chat on YouTube and as well as Facebook. On to some other news. Canada to open its borders to fully vaccinated Americans on August 9th, which is fantastic. I've been thinking about games that I wanted to go to, and so the fact that travel was open to the border is really good. And of course, kickoff is August 5th when the Hamilton Tiger Cats play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for the season opener, which is all fine and well. And I was even looking at the schedule too. You can get the schedule on CFLnewshub.com as well. And I was looking at dates for, so one of the cool things about this is you can actually download the schedule and add it to your Apple Calendar, Google, or Outlook. But I was looking at, of course, my Hamilton Tiger Cats, and you can just filter it down. So I just typed in HAM, and I can get the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I was looking at some of the dates. I was thinking about October. But these 2 weekends, I was thinking about October 2nd or October 11th. That wasn't going to work. Maybe towards the end of the month, October 23rd might be a game that I could make. And then you get into November, and really we're kind of running out of time. The problem is, and you can get the full schedule, of course, on CFL News Hub. The problem is that we also just found out today is that in the United States, they're not allowing travel to Canada until August, the end of August. And if you've seen the news about a certain thing that has kind of started to prop up again, even in the great state of Maryland, where the jab numbers, I'm trying to not get penalized by YouTube, are good, we are also starting to see those numbers go up. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. So I haven't booked anything just yet. I'm kind of waiting to see. I'm hoping that these kind of bump in numbers is just due to the 4th of July. Hopefully more people will get the jab and we don't have to worry about it. But I was planning on trying to hit October. But again, if the border is kind of closed, it's great that vaccinated people from the United States could go to Canada, but then we couldn't get back in because there's stuff going on. And so we're not going to know any of that really until September. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. But I'm looking probably not October for my Hamilton Tiger Cats game. The first 2 weekends I'm kind of booked due to other, got family stuff going on. Actually going to probably be going to a Jacksonville Jaguars game in October. So now I'm kind of looking maybe that November 5th, kind of have to see how the schedule plays out and how kind of the regulations and health stuff plays out as well. Let's see. Let's check in the chat. We got Dave checking in. I like the new faces in the league. And Rich, Ticats fan here also. Excellent. Welcome to the program, both David and Rich. So I've got some cool stuff up next. So, especially, and I'm not sure if people in Canada can play DraftKings or not, but DraftKings CFL DFS returns for the 2021 season, and there's still no word about TSN fantasy leagues just yet. So due to the uncertainty and then the shortened 2021 CFL season, it was unclear if DraftKings would once again host CFL games. Well, we can now confirm CFL DFS Daily Fantasy will be back for the 2021 season with an official announcement coming soon. A spokesperson for DK DraftKings told us, quote, "We will be having CFL Daily Fantasy available to you. CFL Week 1 begins August 5th. Within the next few weeks, these contests will be live." So this is great news for football and DFS fans, this is a great way to engage fans with the games like daily fantasy and fantasy football leagues. Still no word on if TSN will be running CFL fantasy football leagues in 2021, because when we click on the link to the website that was used, oh, well, here you go. This is new. Completing the Ultimate GM to win a VIP Grey Cup prize packages, early bird contests. So it looks like they are doing CFL fantasy now on this is on TSN. So if you go to actually I'm sorry, this is CFL themselves. fantasy.cfl.ca. You can go to that link. Actually, they have something up there right now. So we'll have to sign up for that. That's cool. That wasn't there before. So we'll have to play around with that a bit. But speaking of CFL and DFS and fantasy, we will be having a DFS daily CFL DFS fantasy league. So as you know, and I'm not hiding the fact that I am definitely new to the CFL world this year. A former, longtime NFL fan, XFL. You all know XFL News Hub. And now covering the CFL because I feel like some spring league is going to last, and I want to watch spring/summer football because I am a football fan. So let's cover CFL as well. So we are going to have a fantasy league. So if you want to be part of our DraftKings league, and I'm going to play around with the fantasy leagues here with the Canadian Football League, CFL.ca. Message us, info@cflnewshub.com. That's info@cflnewshub.com if you want to be part of the league. And once that gets going, I will send out invites. We did this for the XFL, and it was really a lot of fun because this is when I really get into the players. It's not, all these articles coming around and news stuff about certain players. Like, I won't know them until they hit the field. I don't know who to invest in because the league hasn't played since 2019. Who knows who's going to be good, who's going to be starting, who's not. So we haven't really been following a lot of the players yet because we just don't know. But once the season gets going, this is how, at least for me, I really get to learn the league is through fantasy. And we'll be having fantasy football coverage and lots of articles when it comes to fantasy on CFLnewshub.com. Now, I was working on a fantasy league application. I've talked about this before, but I'm actually a software engineer by day. This is not my full-time gig. I've been a radio nerd my whole life. So I've been working on an application, and it's for pro wrestling, AEW wrestling, fantasy wrestling, and it's working. We had a draft, had one bug in it, but the league is going. And so I really need to perfect that before I kind of bring it to fantasy football, the CFL. There's other things I want to do. I need to make sure I can get the data to the website. So there's other things. So I don't think that's going to happen this year, but that is in the works and it exists. But I really want to play other people's fantasy football leagues and kind of get an idea of what I like about it, what I don't like about it. So maybe we'll have kind of beta version, sometime in September, October. Probably not. It's a lot of work because you have to perfect the draft part. That's the biggest piece, and it's not quite perfected yet. But that means we're still going to have DraftKings, so you can be part of a league. We'll try to get a league with our writers. We'll do something like $5 to enter a week, and you can be part of that. So email me, of course, info@cflnewshub.com if you want to be part of those leagues. And you could take my money, or I could take your money. Better off. I'd rather take your money. Some other quick news. The ELF, European League of Football, we cover that on CFL News Hub. They released more info on their All-Star game versus Team USA. So we learned about the European League of Football plans to play Team USA in an All-Star game after the summer season wraps up. Now the league has released more information. First, the fans will split vote duties with coaches. Said coaches cannot vote for their own players. It takes place Sunday, October 3rd in Dusseldorf. And the whole weekend will be a celebration starting with awards banquet, which will also be voted by the coaches who, again, cannot vote for their own players. Same rules apply for the all-star rosters. Only 2 Americans will be allowed on the field at the same time, totaling 4 for the team. Voting begins after week 6. Team USA is in the process of choosing its players. It should be announced soon. They will fly to Germany for a week before the game for training. Teams will also compete next year. Will also be announced. That teams that will compete next year will also be announced that weekend. We could see expansion. There's a link for ELF homepage to make reservations and purchase tickets. Man, wouldn't that be fun to go head out to go to an ELF game overseas. That's October 3rd in Dusseldorf. But interesting, they could be expanding, so that is a good sign for football in general as well. And finally, the CFL also put out a statement about their you-know-what testing. And in there, they basically said 6,000 tests were made to Tier 1 personnel, includes players, coaches, staffs, 10 individuals returning a positive test result. 5 tests occurred prior to the individual's travel to the respective CFL markets. So this is all good. I'm glad that the CFL puts this kind of information out. My only fear, I mean, we're seeing some of these issues pop up in the Olympics, and I think so, at least even in the NFL, I believe, like it's only like 30% of the players actually got the jab. So I'm a little concerned. And even if you do get the jab, there's a chance that you're not going to go to the hospital, but you could still get sick. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, not only for the CFL, but for the NFL as well. That's it for the news this week. Once again, we will take this commercial break, and then we'll hit to the social media stuff and get your thoughts. Of course, say hello to everybody in the chat room right after this. Stay tuned, my friends.
This week on the Markcast, are we invading Canada regardless? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we should go F ourselves. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
I'll tell you, when it's out there, we're gonna cover it. We're gonna talk about it. Mr. Dan Ralph, Canadian Press, talking about the Argos potentially still wanting to work with the XFL. We're having Dan on the show. We're gonna figure out what's going on with all this stuff.
December 13th, the day after Grey Cup. Guess what? We're going to be talking about this. I'm convinced that it's not going away, and it may be on the back burner, but the stove's not off. It's just simmering right now.
And I mean, we're saying the Argos, but we mean MLSC, the group that owns the Argos wanted to come over. And, there's a lot of concerns about this single game betting. We bring some viewer comments into the fold and some very nuanced thoughts this week. And we're trying to detach our emotions from this entire merger. We just want peace. We just want to enjoy football.
Yeah, and we're also bringing on Murray McCormick. He's covering the Rough Riders. We're going to talk about everything going on with Riders camp and all the injuries and the COVID protocols, all that stuff.
I thought it was funny that he didn't know there were 12 guys on the field, and as one guy mentioned, I said, wait till he finds out there's a C in defense, as we spell our word.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty good one. It's an adjustment for guys.
And then Coach Hal Mummy of the linemen formerly of the Renegades, Air Raid, the Godfather, right? They call him the Air Raid offense. He is going to be on the show. It's a tremendous interview.
Does that seem more intriguing of a place to wind up as a player or as a coach than to wait around for whatever Danny and company is going to do with XFL?
Oh yeah, I want to do the USFL.
And for those who gatekeep about us being CFL members,
you're mad.
We got our names on the fan base at the Grey Cup. Reed hooked that up. Look at that.
Official Grey Cup fan base members here, the Markcast podcast for all time.
It's all happening this week on the Markcast.
All right, we are back. What's up in the chat? We got Rich says he's a Ticats fan as well. All right, me too. Hopefully we can hang out and have an adult beverage, cider beer. I'm gluten-free, not by choice. So cider beer, I'm up for that, hanging out with Rich. 1701 Patrick, great to see you covering CFL training camp. CFL electric football begins this week too. What's CFL electric football? You might want to explain what that. And Dave says, I like the new faces in the league. Yeah, I'm really excited about what's so interesting about this season, that it's good if you're an American or if you're a person that didn't even really get into, if this is your first season in the CFL, this is actually the perfect time to get in to watching the CFL because it is so new. Just because you watched it in 2019 and know all the players, I mean, coaches have changed. Players, I mean, you're talking a couple years out. Who knows what the starting lineup's going to be? I mean, a lot of guys retired. So it's basically, it's the same league, but it's kind of fresh and new in terms of who are going to be the players. There's a lot of former XFL players in the league, names that you might have heard of before. So it's going to be really interesting to watch and see how this all plays out. Hoping my Hamilton Tiger Cats will win the Grey Cup, but who knows what happens there. So thanks for everybody checking in. Let's get to the social media stuff first. Our question of the week, who is your favorite team? I wanted to gauge and see who fans of what is out there. So we got, let's see here. Scott says Edmonton Elks. We got a Rough Riders, Argos, Go Cats. All right. Rough Riders and Tie Cats. Robert has that one. Let's see here. We got Tie Cats, Rough Riders, Edmonton Eskimos. Somebody needs to tell Warren that the Eskimos, they kind of changed the name, Brusky. Mervin says the Elks. We got the Red Blacks, Lions, Alouettes, Argos, Red Blacks, Alouettes, Rough Riders, Argos, BC. There we go. Another one, Robert. Peter, Cincinnati Bengals. Okay. Ticats. Here we got a Blue Bombers in there. Stamps, Orville. Got it in the Stamps, Blue Bombers, BC Lions. There's the Saskatchewan. And Red Blacks. So there you go. Kind of a mixture there. Not many BC Lions. Not many Stamps. We got the Red Blacks representing. We got Ticats. Argos representing. I don't know if we have all the teams covered here. Owls are in there. Blue Bombers, not really. So we'll find out. Remember, the question for next week's show is who do you think is going to win the Grey Cup? That's for next week's show. Now, if you're watching on the YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell anytime we have new and breaking news going out there. Also, subscribe and hit that like button. The more you hit the like button, the YouTube algorithm will push out our videos out to more and more CFL fans, so bring more people in as well as football fans and bring them in and get them excited just like we are for the CFL this season. Also, let's see about the trade between the Argonauts and Winnipeg. John says, great go get for the Blue. Likely a starting O-line soon, OL soon for the Argos too. Well, that's good there. Yeah, I guess I think that's a pretty big trade to start the season. The NFL-style injury reports could be introduced for the CFL's 2021 season due to all the betting stuff. I wanted to throw that out there, that's kind of a good thing. I remember the XFL wasn't too good at that when it comes to that kind of stuff. Let's see. Also, nobody on the chat there. On the Twitter, Richard O for Real, fan of the show on XFL News Hub, he said, talking about the European League of Football, ELF. I have to say that the ELF is fantastic, and the games are getting better. Panthers offense looks good too. Can't wait for them to play the Galaxy. Yes, some good football being played there in Europe, and I think that's just good for football across the world, across the country. On the ELF releases more info on the All-Star game. John says he's an angry elf. Yes, it's ELF, European League of Football. It's funny because no one calls the NFL, I noticed this, NUF, but it's ELF, elf. I mean, it spells it out. I don't know how else you could call it. Everybody calls it the elf. I like to just call it ELF. Also, if you're a fan of... I've tried to reach out to Ethan Page, who is a fan of the CFL and Ticats in particular. I asked him if he wanted to be on the show. Didn't respond. DJ Benny Benz, of course, because he's a Ticats fan. He shows the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Grey Cup. I don't think Ethan Page was too probably happy about that. What do you think? On to the Instagram. We asked the same questions. Favorite team. We got Maddie G102 Ticats, Caddy 54 Ticats. All right, more Ticats fans there. And comments from last week's show. We appreciate everybody on the YouTube for checking in as well. Mark Brennan says Cam Phillips could be a cool guest. I agree with that. Cam Phillips, he played in the XFL. I'm very excited to see him playing for the Tiger Cats. I think he's going to do very well. I'm really super excited about him. I mean, you're talking a guy who's quick. He's small, but he's quick. Kind of a slot receiver guy. Did really well in the XFL with PJ Walker. Now you have that wider field in the CFL. I think this could be really good for him, and I'm super excited to see him out there. Theodore says, I am also seeing American people try to sabotage Mark. They don't like the competition for their own podcasts. I guess this is very true. But hey, we love everybody. It's all good. We're just here to have some fun and talk football. Not that serious. D-Tom America says, go Red Blacks. Thanks for the Jody says, thanks for the show. Go Argos. All right, and Oski Wee Wee from Jim Upson. I've seen that out there before. Don't know what that means. I'm sure somebody will tell me. I don't know in the chat if you want to tell me what that means. But like I said, I'm new to this game, and that's the way it is. All right, on to that's it for this week's show. Last checking in with the chat there on the YouTube. Dave says he's a Saskatchewan fan. He said, Rich says, I was hoping for the CFL, XFL, Continental Football League. Who knows what's going to happen? That is definitely punted down the road. Working on some guests to talk about that kind of stuff and more. Definitely look for some guests on this show real soon. We're getting that locked down as well. But that stuff is tabled for now, and we'll see what happens with this season. I mean, because I'm still a little concerned about the you-know-what popping back up and messing things up for the CFL this season. But I'm super excited that August 5th. Oh, and that was the other thing. If you're in the United States on ESPN Plus, so I have Roku. All my TVs are Rokus, and I have the ESPN app on the TV. If you go to ESPN Plus, hit the football section, you hit CFL. It's all listed right there. For the, I think I put that somewhere. Did I put that on the Instagram? I think I did. Hold on a second. Okay, yeah. So let's go to, so on my Instagram, I posted that picture. So they have the games. It's going to be live on ESPN Plus. So in the United States of America, you go to ESPN app. I don't know how you do it if you just have regular cable. I don't have regular cable. I've been a cord cutter for years. So, I mean, we do have regular cable, but long story. But so we're all Roku family. So if you just head over to the ESPN Plus app, are all Mark 1000 Gem says, are all of them on there? And yes, it looks like it. I mean, for now, it's just week 1 games that were on ESPN Plus, but I think they'll have them all there, and it looks like it's live, so I cannot wait. August 5th is basically you have two more Thursdays. You have tomorrow, and I mean, unless because this is live on Wednesdays, you have the 22nd to 29th, and then we are 1 week away from the CFL kicking its season off, and not playing a game since 2019. So it should be a lot of fun there. I'm super excited. I can't wait to do fantasy with you guys and DFS, and I can't wait to take your money. That's the whole point of all it all. 1701 Patrick says, Ottawa Red Blacks. Rich, what will happen with Odell Willis and the Argos? I haven't heard anything about that. Rich says that's a Tie Cat thing. You'll have to teach me what it is because I am new that. And I, of course, am super excited for August 5th. I'm super excited for you guys to joining the show. We'll be here each week, all season long. We'll do our picks for the week. We'll also have our DFS. We'll review our DFS games, see who's the big winners. Remember, if you want to be part of the show and be part of our DFS, email info@cflnewshub.com. And if you got MP3s or you want videos to be played on our show, your takes on stuff. If you want to be your own little reporter but have your own take, you can do that. Just record yourself. Just grab a microphone on your computer or use your phone and make a MP3 and just send it over to us. We'll play it on the show. Your take on anything CFL related. We love to hear from you, and we want you to be part of these two leagues. So I'm going to look at, now that the fantasy football is open up, I'm going to sign up, see if we can do that. And if you're interested, and let's see if we can get a league going here with the writers from CFL News Hub as well as fans. And I always say this, especially even for, the DFS, you're going to win money. But for fantasy football, we'll do some CFL merch. We did this in the XFL side of things, that whoever won the league. We actually did an NFL league too. So if you guys wanted to do that we gave, yes, we didn't do it for fantasy, but we did it for NFL. That we got, somebody gets some CFL merch, some nice CFL merch if they win. I think Josh Davis won our NFL league, if I'm not mistaken. So that's it for me, folks. Thanks for checking in. Remember, the question of the week is, who is winning the Grey Cup in 2021? Leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube, or make sure you like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, and give us a like on Facebook. Put your thoughts on who's winning the Grey Cup in 2021 in the comments. We'll read them on next week's show. And make sure you subscribe and smash that like button. Spread the word about the CFL. That's it for me, folks. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for everybody on the chat room. And I will see you all next week. See you all later. God bless.